He was just cruising along when he glanced out the window. Whoa. Within seconds, both engines on either side burst into flames and died completely. As power dropped fast, passengers initially thought they'd hit turbulence, not knowing in the cockpit. The captain was under maximum pressure. Every single move he made now meant life or death for 155 people. He tried restarting the engines, but got nothing. Cabin power cut out, plunging everything into darkness and panic. Sully stayed cool and decisively kicked on the auxiliary power. When the lights flickered back on, emotions finally eased a little. The co-pilot's hands shaking, he flipped open the quick reference handbook, searching for the procedure for dual engine failure. While Sully, voice steady as ever, called out to the tower, "We've lost both engines. We're trying to get back to LaGuardia. Both engines out, copy that." The controller's stomach dropped. He immediately triggered the emergency plan, clearing all runways to carve out an urgent path, or Flight 1549. But the plane had lost too much altitude to turn back, pulling on 42 years of experience. Sully instantly knew forcing a return would mean crashing before reaching the runway, straight into downtown New York City. 3. That would be catastrophic. A disaster far worse than anything on board. The tower kept offering options. US Airways 1549, if we clear runway 3, can you try landing on runway 13? Can't make it. We're probably gonna have to ditch in the Hudson. The whole tower went silent at that. Because in all of aviation history, no commercial airliner had ever successfully ditched on water. Survival odds were basically zero. When Flight 1549's radar blip disappeared completely, everyone knew they were on their own. The weight of the 105 lives entirely on Sully's shoulders. He hit the intercom and gave passengers one clear instruction. "This is the captain. Brace for impact." What? Brace, brace, brace. Heads down, stay down. Brace, brace, brace. Heads down, stay down. The plane was under 100 meters from the water, but Sully's face showed zero panic. Just pure, almost cold focus. 42 years of flying, a million safe landings, all squeezed into these final seconds. He guided the 75-ton jet into the water at the perfect angle. This was their only shot. With a massive impact and the screech of metal, the plane skidded smoothly across the Hudson, sliding for a stretch, then settled right in the middle of the river. No breakup, no capsizing. Truly a miracle beyond belief. But the danger wasn't over. Freezing river water was already flooding in through the damaged sections. The plane was slowly sinking. Sully burst from the cockpit, directing panicked passengers to evacuate in order. Emergency exits opened, inflatable slides deployed onto the water, becoming makeshift life rafts. Wing exits opened too. Passengers climbed onto the wings one by one, standing on that narrow metal strip, waiting for whatever came next. One passenger, overwhelmed with panic, jumped right into the freezing river. Tried to swim across, but the cold knocked him out fast. Sully was running the evacuation, handing out blankets to passengers. After making sure everyone was out, he waded through waist-deep icy water, going back in twice, for a final sweep, making sure nobody was left. When he was the last one on the raft, the plane that saved 505 lives had just finished its final mission on the Hudson. A spectacular survival scene was unfolding. The Coast Guard, once they got the call, ferries, private boats, came rushing from all directions, forming a solid wall of rescue. Rescue helicopters hovering overhead, SWAT team members leaping into the freezing water, pulling out that reckless swimmer. The whole rescue was efficient and orderly, full of human brilliance, from the ditching to everyone making it ashore. It only took 24 minutes before Sullenberger stepped onto solid ground. First thing he did was call his wife to say he was safe, but a weight still hung in his chest. The mayor and police chief came to pay their respects. He had no time for small talk, just urgently asking about one number. He needed to confirm everyone on board had been rescued, but given the chaos, there was no way to get a count. He had no choice but to go to the hospital for a checkup. Right then, the union rep finally brought definite news. The total head count? It was accurate, not one more, not one less. Exactly matching the number when it took off, and Sully's nerves finally eased. He'd done his duty, single-handedly saving 105 families. But he aiding the miracle on the Hudson in aviation history. Yet just as the whole world was hailing him as a hero, a cold investigation quietly began. The safety board's simulation data showed Sully had plenty of time and altitude to fly back to the airport, his so-called no-choice water landing. In the investigators' eyes, might have been a completely unnecessary, reckless personal show, gambling with 105 lives. Hey everyone, I'm LaFeng. Today I'm bringing you a film, adapted from a true story, starring Tom Hanks in this biopic. The NTSB hearing arrived right on schedule. Sully figured it was just a routine procedural meeting. Little did he know what was waiting for him was a tribunal that felt more like a courtroom, A joint investigative team from multiple agencies had taken a stance against him from the start, a presumption of guilt. The board's engineers came at him first. Why didn't you try to return to LaGuardia? All right, walk us through how you calculated that those parameters meant you couldn't make it back. There was no time to calculate anything. I had to rely on over 40 years of experience from thousands of flights. My instinct for altitude and speed. But these desk-bound investigators scoffed at so-called experience and intuition. They only trusted cold data from computer simulations. They even started grilling Sully about his mental state before the incident. How many hours did you sleep the night before? A solid 8 hours. Could your blood sugar have been low? I was sharp and alert. I knew exactly what was going on around me. When was your last drink, Captain Sully? He was a hero who saved 155 lives, yet these so-called experts were picking him apart. Co-pilot Jeff found it all absurd. Why were they looking for our faults? Shouldn't this have been a happy ending? The airline and their insurance companies couldn't see it that way. We need to be prepared for this. Those words laid bare the truth. For the airline and insurers, a tens of millions of dollar plane completely destroyed was far from a happy ending, and pinning the blame on the captain's error and do everything possible to salvage the brand's reputation. What's most chilling is never the danger itself. It's afterward, when they set aside humanity and just top numbers. Experience gets reduced to cold parameters. On-the-spot judgment becomes nothing but simulation exercises. Under this presumption of guilt, the hero's feat ends up looking pretty powerless. Under immense pressure, Sully started being consumed by self-doubt. He was temporarily staying at a hotel in New York on call for questioning at any moment. The media's adoration and the NTSB's harassment formed a sharp contrast. Taxi drivers would get thrilled just giving him a ride. TV station makeup artists wanted to set their single mothers up with him. This one's for my mom. Her name's Brenda. She wanted me to say thanks, and she's single. Say thanks to Brenda. But I've got a wife waiting at home. She's so lucky, but every time night falls and it's quiet, those heart-pounding memories come back even clearer, followed by waking up screaming from nightmares. In his dreams, he's piloting Flight 1549, trying to turn back after the bird strike, but the plane stalls and plummets straight into downtown New York. A tragedy that kills hundreds. At the second hearing, the investigators dropped even more damaging evidence. Flight data showed after the bird strike. The left engine, though damaged, was still idling, hadn't completely failed, which meant both engines shutting down. Might have been Sully's misjudgment. They released the results of multiple computer simulations. Every computer simulation uses the same flight parameters. It proves that returning to LaGuardia is possible. And not just possible, it's feasible. Faced with overwhelming data and simulation results, Sully was speechless. Could he really have made a judgment error? Choosing the most dangerous path. His memory clashed hard with the data. A judgment he'd been absolutely sure of began to waver under immense pressure. If it's ultimately ruled a pilot error, his 42-year stellar career will end in disgrace. No pension. He might even be buried in massive debt. His 42-year record of transporting millions of passengers with zero accidents will be completely overturned by these 28 seconds. Beneath the hero's crown often lies a weight unimaginable to ordinary people. Praise from the outside world came in like a tide, but the storm inside could only be heard by himself. This 208-second life or death test wasn't over. It stretched into every sleepless night, tormenting every moment he'd once trusted without question. He tried jogging to relieve the stress, and before he knew it, he was at the Hudson River, the site of the incident. Looking at the warplanes on display at the Intrepid Sea, Air and Space Museum, he recalled a flight experience from his youth. The fighter jet he was piloting suddenly malfunctioned. When everyone thought he should eject, he relied on his extraordinary courage and skill, and successfully landed the jet. This boldness also earned his instructor's recognition. Remember, no matter what happens, fly the plane. Understood, instructor. The instructor's advice still echoes clearly in his mind. That spirit of facing difficulties head-on. That kind of charging head-on into challenges. The drive to solve the problem had long been carved into his bones. At a bar, the bartender recognized him and enthusiastically served him a special cocktail named after him, Sully. Watching the news replaying on TV, the word timing suddenly struck him. He had an epiphany. The computer simulation was perfect because it reacted the moment the accident happened. But humans aren't machines. So he called the union president right away and asked the investigation committee, a pretty wild request for the final hearing, to run a live public sim with a real pilot, if one could land safely too. He'd take off his badge himself and end his career in disgrace. To his 42 years in the sky, Judgment Day arrived right on schedule. The room was packed with media and officials, everyone wanting to see it firsthand. The final verdict for the Hudson River hero. Sully calmly took his seat. On the big screen ahead, 2 top pilots were already in the simulator. The long-awaited live broadcast of life and death was about to start. Same flight path, same bird strike. As the disaster replayed in the virtual world, everyone held their breath. Too low, retract the flaps. The pilot in the simulator. Immediately turned around after the bird strike, and the plane landed steadily on LaGuardia's runway. The investigation team wasn't done yet. They switched to another one. They switched to someone else. The ace pilot tries again. Same result. Perfect landing, easy return. All the evidence seems to be saying one thing. Captain Sully. At that moment, all eyes were on Sully. Struggling, waiting for the hero's final, but Sully didn't defend himself. He only asked one question, one that left the entire investigation team speechless. Anna? We've all heard about computer simulations, and now we've seen the actual simulation demo. But what surprised me is, you still haven't factored in the human element. The simulations run by human pilots show you could make it back to the airport. No, they couldn't. He pointed out that the pilots in the simulation were like students walking into an exam with the answers already in hand. They knew about the bird strike beforehand, knew which direction to turn. They didn't have to troubleshoot, no shock, no assessment, no decision-making process. Nobody warned us. Nobody would expect dual engine failure at this altitude, lower than any aircraft in history. But stay calm. The captain just needs to turn left and head back to LaGuardia. Captain, it's as simple as going out for milk. After dual engine failure at 853 meters, immediately executing a water landing. With 555 lives on board, nobody's trained for this kind of incident. He then pressed, how many times did these two pilots actually get trained for this beforehand? To handle it this perfectly? The room erupted in chaos. Even under pressure, the investigator had to come clean. Day shift, month shift, month shift. The captain who landed in Teterboro. There had been 17 previous attempts that led to the simulation we just watched. A success, but with 17 failures. To judge a real-world situation that can't afford failure, it's an absurd farce in itself. Your reaction time will be set to 35 seconds. 8, just like that. Sully bought himself 35 seconds. This is the average time a pilot needs to react and decide. After a sudden emergency, the simulation starts again. Bird strike. Timer set to 35 seconds. During those 35 seconds, the pilots made no attempt to turn back. 35 seconds later, when they finally turned left, trying to return to LaGuardia, it was already too late. Terrain. Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain. The result left everyone stunned. After factoring in the 35-second reaction time, the plane returning to LaGuardia crashed straight into a building. The one heading to Teterboro was even worse. It went down right in the middle of the city. Those 35 seconds are the whole answer, not some data lag. It's how long a person needs to recover from shock, judge, and make a choice. A machine only needs to calculate. But Captain Sully had 155 lives on his shoulders. That's the humanity no machine can ever simulate. And it's exactly those 35 seconds that created a real miracle. The truth comes out. The massive hall falls silent. Everyone realizes Captain Sully, given the situation at the time, made the only correct call, the one with the highest chance of survival. When that 208-second real recording played in the hall, all the doubts, theories, and biases vanished. Because no simulation can match the voice of someone who lived through it, recreating a great decision involving 155 lives. Everyone there put on headphones and experienced those terrifying moments firsthand. In the recording, Sully and Jeff's voices are calm and professional, not a hint of panic. From turning on the APU to contacting the tower, to making the final call to ditch in the Hudson. Flawless. Every step is clear and precise. 208 seconds of heart-pounding tension led to a miracle. All 155 survived. The recording ends. Sully and Jeff step outside to wait for the final verdict. At this point, no matter the outcome, they have nothing to regret. We did our duty. We did our duty. The investigation team's attitude does a complete 180. They're no longer aggressive. Instead, there's genuine respect. This is truly extraordinary. That wasn't a simulation. Right, that wasn't a simulation. At this moment, one final piece of evidence arrives. The recovered left engine, after inspection, has severe internal damage. Completely destroyed. It confirms both engines really did fail. The data the plane sent back was wrong. I can say with great confidence. With the rest of the crew and the bird experts. After the aerospace engineers meeting. After running through every scenario. After talking with everyone involved. I can say with absolute certainty. There's one more special element to a successful outcome. So that's you, Captain Sully. Variable, take it out of the whole equation. No perfect formula can guarantee survival. But he humbly stated the credit doesn't just belong to him. Not just me, it's all of us. It's Jeff and Donna, Sheila and Doreen. It's all the passengers and rescue workers. Ferry crew, and the police dive team. We all did our part. That's how we managed to survive. He believes miracles happen. I couldn't have done it without these people's help. They're all the ones who made this miracle happen. When asked what they'd do if they could start over, in the end, what would be different? Co-pilot Jeff, with a humorous remark, brought the hearing to a perfect close. I hope it's in July when we ditch. The audience burst into knowing laughter. Because the river water in July is really too cold. We seem to be increasingly accustomed to cold data and predetermined procedures. But when the real crisis strikes in a flash? A moment of decision forged over 40-plus years of professional experience. How should its value be measured? This might be what the film is really about, the place where we hope to think. The core of heroism isn't some godlike power to turn the tide, and it happens to be in the most ordinary of roles, polishing professionalism, responsibility, and conscience, day after day, to perfection. When disaster strikes, this skill, sharpened over the years, becomes your strongest shield. That so-called miracle moment was never someone's solo story. It's built on a calm co-pilot and a dedicated crew, a quick rescue team and passengers, looking out for each other, a win built together. It's everyday pros and regular jobs, and human warmth that shows up when it matters most. All of that adds up to the real backbone we lean on when things get tough, the kind of strength that actually holds.